Hey, you. To understand how a aircraft works on a spinning globe, we need to clarify a number of things first. The ball Earth is rotating at a certain speed, say 1,000 miles an hour here, and half of that speed down here or up here. So that's the first point. The second is that the atmosphere is moving along with the ball Earth, because it's the explanation they give as to why we don't sense any movement, because the atmosphere has, over millions and millions of years, simply sped up enough that there is no shear forces, there's no drag, there's no wind resistance being caused other than this Coriolis effect, which is so minuscule but accounts for this 1,000-mile-an-hour rotational spin. It also, it seems, allows for the atmosphere in the upper regions of our atmospheric bubble to travel even faster than the atmosphere at the ground level. Otherwise, if it wasn't the case, we would see vast differences of drag in the upper skies as it lost its momentum the further away it got from the surface. Now, we've got that all in place. We've got a spinning rock. We've got a moving body of air. Aircraft takes off at the equator and heads this way against the spin. Yeah, that's to say it's east against the spin. Does that plane have a difficult time coming back with the spin and a very easy time arriving at its destination 1,000, 2,000 miles around the ball? No, of course not. It doesn't. And the reason for that, according to pilots who've done all the research, is that the air is moving them in line with, the atmosphere is moving them in line with the ball, so they're not actually losing ground. But if that's true, then once they leave the air at the ground and move into the airstream, and they fly against the airstream, they're going to have the same problem as if the land was moving at 1,000 miles an hour. The airstream must be moving at 1,000 miles an hour and even faster at 30,000 feet. Again, these are logical fallacies that preclude the ball, but they would have you think that there's a number of factors in play. One is, you don't notice the land moving because you're moving with it, but you don't have to account for it other than, they'll say, but there's the jet stream. Or there'll always be some, but there's a 20-minute difference in the flight between, the 10-hour flight from, one section of east to another section of west of that or something, And again, these are just chicken feed, in terms of the factors and forces we're talking about. 1,000 miles an hour, which is twice the plane's operating speed. The forces are significant, and then of course they vary as you move up and down this spinning globe. And if you were coming from South Africa to England up here, then your flight trajectory would have to be very much allowing for the amount of spin that was going to happen, or the amount of wind forces that were going to push at you as you made your way up the side, crept your way up the side of this ball. I don't know what the divide is between those who can and those who can't see the obvious flaws in this kind of, just this little simple example here is enough surely for right-minded people to think, Sheik, there's something that doesn't really compute with that. It's fair to say that 1,000-mile-an-hour wind would rip a plane apart. the spinning of a ball would surely have some notable effects in the environment around it. That's what we see in tests, that we see in the lab at the small scale. I don't, we're not all meant to see it. It just becomes the only conclusion. And I just thought we were all equally kind of gifted or enabled. It was just, that we were within a system that preferred a certain academic mind and a certain disciplined mind to give it all the best jobs and responsibilities and so on. And of course, all of that citadel kind of stuff is all a ruse. It's all a hoax. It's all a scam of some description. And it would seem that the books are right, that the majority are going to want to clamor for it. There's a line in a Will Smith, and is it the Men in Black or something movie, where it goes, the majority of people will fight to protect this thing that they believe in. And good people that I know, the majority of people that I know are in that family and are in that mind, or of that mind. I don't want to be fighting to my last breath here, as to the nature of things, because I don't think, if there's an Eden to be found, whether it be within or without, then I don't think it has to be that every one of my family and friends come along with me in order for me to bring them there in some way. Because if we are our ancestors, and we are all brothers and sisters, then only one of us needs to reach that place for us all to have reached that place, in essence. My grandparents were a stepping stone, but I step on them, or I stand where I stand because of them. All the people that have given me information and learning along this way, all the deep research and whatever, channeled information that people have got. I've just realized I wasn't live. This is just a recording I'm making, so my phone will run out of memory in a second. Make sure I've kind of touched what I wanted to. Aircraft do not work on a spinning ball. NASA admit that in one of their documents, and well, really, it's just fanciful to imagine that now, and on a still day to imagine that the atmosphere is so violently moving, less violently here than down there, but still very violent, 600, 500 miles an hour. Put that into kilometers, and it's a lot of numbers. We're not set up for that. A hurricane, 100 k's an hour, 150 kilometers an hour, and it's major news. Buildings are being ripped apart. Roofs are coming off, and people are dying at 150 kilometers an hour. So we know that kind of thing. Actually, I don't even think that airplanes are flying as fast as they claim. I got a feeling that there's also fiddling and faddling going on with that. Same with shipping distances, in order to expand the size of this place we live on. In our minds, make it much bigger than it really is. In terms of the landmass that we're on, I don't know about beyond that. There's a lot of people who don't know the heck what they're talking about, and the more I think about my experience at Speaker's Corner this last Sunday, I think, cheapers, there's work to be done to go and school people. But the difficulty is, of course, when they come in there with their scorn and ridicule, they're not ready for schooling. They just want, not all of them, and maybe that'll change, so we'll see. But, I think we're here to grow and not squander that. Those of us who are so-called. And I feel, in my life, I've never felt called. I never felt the touch of, let me go and, evangelize for a particular religion or whatever, except atheism, sort of agnosticism and agnosticism, and don't care about religion kind of thing. And I was for science. I really did talk a lot about science. But I didn't do it with a fervor or a sense of honor in what I'm doing. Now I know that this is what I must do for myself, for my family, for my fellow human, whatever it turns out our history is. I'm fascinated by the Tartarian thing, and I know that I have a family tree that apparently goes back to the late 1600s. And includes French so-called nobility, or the Huguenot kind of thing, descendants. But that's, I guess, like most people, everybody comes from some descent, and we're all connected to one thing. So I continue to strive for cohesion and cooperation and understanding. Anyway, I've got some gardening to go and do.